And this is our third episode.
Third episode.
All right.
Hello, everyone. Welcome.
I will tell you. When Mama's ready, then we're ready.
Are you ready now?
You know, you're looking fuzzy.
I am.
You're looking pretty fuzzy.
Thank you.
You know, I think we're going to be seeing that growth as we
do these episodes?
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll see if how long it lasts.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think we can go now.
All right.
I'm Lori.
I'm Walker. And welcome back to the My Experience, Your Experience podcast.
The podcast.
The podcast. The podcast. Today we are talking about Halo.
Halo.
Another sci-fi world that is kind of similar to Star Wars, but also different in other ways.
It's very different than Star Wars, but okay.
Yeah, but they both take place in space.
But we're going to talk about Halo today.
Halo, yep.
It's Walker's choice.
Yep, my choice.
And Walker wants to talk about?
Halo.
Halo.
Yeah. A game franchise that has a very special place in my heart.
So, Walker, I think you're more experienced in Halo than I am. So I thought, why don't you share with me what it is about that you love so much about Halo, maybe when you first, when did you first discover Halo, and just like what your experiences have been with Halo.
Yeah. What I love so much about Halo is, first of all, the game's characters, mainly like the Master Chief and the other Spartans and Cortana and all the other characters involved. Also the environments within like the games, because they're such beautiful like environments. Like you see, like in TV show, you got to witness firsthand how the Halo ring looks, and it's a luxurious forest area.
Okay, let's start. You're explaining like all the stuff that you love about the Halo universe. But when was the first time you were introduced to Halo?
I think when I was first introduced to Halo.
What was it? What was the first introduction? Was it a game? Was it a toy?
It was definitely the game.
Do you remember how old you were?
I couldn't have been more than maybe 10 or 11.
I kind of feel like you may have even been younger. So as I was thinking, because you had told me that the topic we were going to talk about this week was Halo.
Yep.
Not something that I am very
well
versed and familiar with. However, I was like, okay, so I remember Walker and Caden playing Halo when you were fairly little. I can't remember when you guys started playing video games, but is Halo a mature game?
Yeah, it's an M-rated game meant for 17 and older.
Yeah. So me and your dad aren't those kind of parents who are like, oh, you're not 17, you can't play. You guys have been playing these kind of games for a pretty long time.
Here's the thing about Halo, though, is that yes, it does have all those sorts of things that an M-rated game does have. I feel like most M-rated games they're talking about like the language that is spoken, but there's really not a lot of that sort of mature language.
Well, I think it's not just the mature language. I think that there's like it's a fighting game.
It is,
right? Like you're running around with blasters, or what do they call them in Halo? Real life
weapons, and the Covenants basically basically laser.
But they're not using, like when we watch Star Wars, we call them blasters, right? They don't call them blasters, they call them their guns, right?
They're guns, they're rifles.
Yeah. So anyway, soldiers running around, fighting, shooting the enemy. Yep. So it's a pretty violent game, but you guys were playing it when you were pretty young.
Oh, so here's the thing. If I remember correctly, me and Dad were at GameStop together, and I was looking for a new game to play, and I think I had brought up before, and was like, how about Halo? He's like, no. He's like, you're too young for that. And then we didn't end up finding anything, and he's just like, all right, do you want to start playing Halo? I'm just like, yes. And so he...
Did Dad play Halo before?
I want to say possibly. But either way, he was the one who allowed me to get Halo, and it was the first Halo game. Yeah. So
I mean, you guys have been playing those kind of games for a really long time, but we talk about it like that. These are just pretend games and that sort of thing. But so I would sit over on the chair, and you guys would play Halo.
Yep.
And I would see all the people in their armor running around, and I'd be like, so who's that guy and who's that girl, and that sort of thing. And so the one thing that I knew from the game, there was a couple things I knew from the game. There was a guy called Master Chief, or Chief, everybody called him. He had some other soldiers he would run around with from time to time, some other buddies. The bad guys were aliens. I didn't really know what their names were, but they were aliens. And they had energy swords, right?
Yep.
Energy swords. And they had energy swords. And then there was Cortana.
Yep.
Cortana, who was a holographic computer entity that... AI. Yes, AI. But it was a computer entity that the Master Chief communicated with.
Yep.
And so I would just sit, you guys would play, and I would be on my phone or on my computer and or reading a book, and I would just kind of glance over the top of things and just watch what you guys were playing. And it was, we mentioned talking about Halo. You're like, well, you don't know a lot about Halo, and I kind of ran down. I was like,
you kind of proved me wrong, because you did know a few stuff before you started to watch the TV show.
Yes, I knew quite a bit.
Yep.
Well, I knew enough. I knew the games, and I also knew there was a lot of games. Like, I think maybe in this shot you could see a couple of them, with a whole stack of them behind your head.
I'd probably say...
How many games are there? More than 6? More than 10?
Maybe like 9 or 10.
9 or 10. There's a lot of Halo games.
Yeah.
And I remember, like,
maybe
we would go to conventions, and you're like, I want to get this Halo, and I was like, but we don't even have that game system, and you're like, yes, but I just want the game. Because you wanted the whole collection.
So, yeah, here's the thing, is that after I started to play the first Halo game, I remember we went down to, what's the street called where Barnes & Noble is?
Oh, Derby Street?
Derby Street. That, the GameStop that used to be there.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot there was a GameStop there.
Yeah, and I remember basically, like, after I played the first Halo game, I was just like, I need to play the rest of them. So I basically bought, like, another 2 or 3 of the games, because that's how much I was just like, I love this first game, and I'm excited to see how the other games are.
So we would watch them, and I'm not big on like big scary aliens like predators or that kind of thing. So their aliens kind of like freaked me out. So you learned you would play the games, and then but beyond the games, you were super big into Mega Bloks.
Yes, the Halo Mega Bloks. Yep. But yeah, there were Halo sets that I had collected, but it was mainly the, the one-pack figures that...
Yes, you always wanted the one-pack figures, and you wanted specific figures.
Because, I mean, they were very inexpensive, like, they're like $6 each, and as well as, like, I'm just like, like basically all of Noble Team. I was just like, I need to have all 6 members.
So you would, like, for Christmas, you would put on your list, I want, like, Fred. Was one of them called Fred?
Yeah.
One was Fred, and then there was, like, a woman.
Yep.
So there were certain ones, certain colors, and you wanted them, but you couldn't purchase them that way. They came in, like, multi-pack boxes, and you couldn't really, I mean, if you went to eBay and you paid a fortune for them, but, like, you couldn't just, like, go on Walmart.com or Target.com and be like, I want Fred. Like, you would just, all you could do is pick like, I want a Halo Mega Bloks figure, and you get, it was whatever you got. Like, you couldn't choose them.
Well, I had to buy the set in order to get such a set figure.
Yes. But anyway, so you loved getting the Halo sets and building, and what are the ships? The
Warthogs, Mongoose, or Mongoose, I should call it, Banshees, Ghosts.
Yep. Like all the vehicles and all the ships, and you would want those, but they were Mega Bloks and not Lego,
which means that they're not as, no offense to you Mega Bloks, you're great, but also their bricks are not as good as Lego's blocks.
They just, oh my god, there'd be so much frustration trying to put those blocks together, because they just don't snap the same way. And then the figures, the figures.
I love them dearly, but they're so difficult.
They're so difficult because it's not like Legos. You just put in like the arm into the body, or you attach the bodies to the leg. No, it's each leg gets put on each, like, because the arm, which is very cool. Like the forearm and the upper arm, all the joints and the hands, everything. Yeah. It's all jointed, which is wonderful. But that means they fall apart, and that means young children get very upset when pieces get lost or they're not working the way they're supposed to, and there was a time when Halo just caused me a lot of frustration.
Yeah.
Between trying to find the right game, the right Mega Block character.
Well, you didn't really. You worried about the sets. The rest of us worried about the games.
No, but you would want to buy the certain games. And certain games.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was my early experience with Halo. It was video game, watching them, you and your brother.
Dad played them.
Dad, you guys playing them, and then finding the Mega Block sets.
Yep.
And so then I learned names, but the important names were Cortana, Master Chief, and did I know the Doctor Halsey?
Dr. Halsey, yep.
I guess I probably. So
she didn't show up in. She's shown up maybe in 3 Halo games.
Okay.
Maybe 4.
It's hard to remember if I knew that name before.
Yeah.
So then last year, it was last year, right? 2 years ago. I don't know. I'm lost track of time. I have so lost track of time. They announced that there was going to be a TV show.
Yep.
And you were kind of apprehensive.
I was excited, actually.
Excited.
I was very excited because I was just like, yes, they're making Halo into a TV show. I'm very excited to see I'm excited to see Master Chief in action, and just like.
So who was very apprehensive was your brother.
Yes. Yeah.
So
I remember that. Yep.
He hasn't really seen them. And maybe he's seen 1 episode, 2 episodes.
Maybe like 1 or 2
but
episodes.
But Caden was big into Halo. So before we get into the TV show, remember Caden wanted to be Master Chief for a convention. He had to be 5 or 6.
Something like that.
He was little.
He was young.
He was little. And 6, somewhere between 6 and 7, between 5 and 7, somewhere around there. I don't know. I can't remember.
I
feel
old.
I'll do. You feel?
I feel old.
I have to find the picture, but. As per usual, before conventions, 2, 3, maybe the night before a convention, you guys come up with a costume that you want, and then I have to create said costume.
Yep.
So he's like, I want to go to Boston Comic-Con, wherever we're going, as Master Chief. And I was like, okay. Yep. So I think there were Master Chief, like, Halloween costumes you can get out there, but they were expensive. So instead, I went to the Dollar Tree.
Yep.
And I got a SWAT helmet, costuming helmet, and I think some SWAT pads and stuff. And then we went just Goodwill. I think I got some shin pads and arm pads for when you're rollerblading. So we got some things together, and I painted everything up, made it all look camouflagey, and then built out a whole helmet out of the fun foam and some iridescent cellophane and stuff like that, and it came out so awesome.
It did. It really
came out. I was very proud of myself.
Yeah.
Being that I've never actually built armor before, and I really didn't know a huge amount about.
That was just
Halo.
Your taste of armor.
That was a taste. Before we got into your armor. That's true. So so I put everything together, and I felt like I did a really good job. Yep. And I think people who saw him, I remember taking some pictures at the show, and there was somebody else dressed up as Master Chief, and we took pictures together. It was very cool, but we were going to put it in our display, but we couldn't find it, so we didn't do that. So that was me as a mom with Halo. And then, so Caden was big into Halo, and then when they announced the TV show, he was like, "Oh, they're not going to do a good job with it." And so he's kind of a moody teen. You and I watched it.
Yep.
And we were very excited about it.
Me, and Dad.
You, me, and Dad watched the first episode, and the first season. Did he ever finish the first season?
I don't remember.
You can't remember. I can't remember if he finished it either. We used to like to watch things together as a family. We try to do that, with Star Wars and Marvel.
Yep.
We try to watch them when they're released on those days and watch them as a family, but sometimes our schedules just can't coordinate, and Halo comes out on Thursdays.
I don't know if it did for the first season, but it did for the second season.
So it was a little more complicated.
Yeah.
So you and I were watching it. Anyway, so we watched it, and What was your feel? How do you feel about it?
I enjoyed it for what it was, but as I've gotten older, I was just like, it's like it could have been better. Season 2 definitely improved upon some things, but there's still a good amount of things that are just like, yeah, that doesn't really work
with it. Well, from someone who didn't follow the games and know the ins and outs, only peripherally, I don't know, can't say that word. Like watching it from afar and like knowing it from toys and you guys talking about it and Googling costumes and that sort of stuff. I think it's a good show. Like I enjoyed
it's
that.
Fun.
I enjoyed that first season a lot.
Yeah.
You know, I do remember saying to you, oh, by the way, so if you haven't seen Halo, spoilers, because we may talk about things. So if you haven't seen the Halo series, you may want to stop now because we're going to mention a few things. But things would happen in the Halo show, and I would say to you, did that happen in the game? And you're like, no. I'm like, is that character in the game? And you're like, no.
Most of the time it was a no.
Most of the time it's a no. So they added their own twists. They've added their own storylines. They've added their own characters into the show.
Yep.
But as a standalone show, I think it's a really good show. Like, I think the story and the plot is really cool.
It's fun.
I know that the biggest issue that most people have
is Master Chief removing his helmet. Because, how should I put Master Chief in the games, he's taken off his helmet, and we've, never, whenever he's taken off his helmet, we've only seen, his, chest down.
So they, shoot from here, and you just...
Yeah, but there was, one ending in Halo 4 that showed his eyes, but that was it. But also...
Spoiler alert!
It's been over 10 years, over 12 years probably.
How long do you wait for a spoiler? That's like Game of Thrones. Don't talk about it.
Well, so I should say that Master Chief, you can see, in the comics when he was younger and when he was training as a Spartan, he had his helmet off. You can see young John.
Oh, so there. I never thought about the comic. But there was. I think maybe we did have one or two comic books from a free comic book day.
I have a few.
So I didn't really think about that. So in the comic book, are there in this TV show, or is there anything in the TV show that aligned to the comics that you know of? I mean, you haven't read enough of them.
I haven't read enough of them. Maybe there were maybe a few aspects, but not that I'm aware of.
So one of the things I remember, the first season of Halo. Mm-hmm. One of the things I thought of was because we had just finished. Where does Last of Us and Halo? What came first?
Last of Us. No. Halo.
Halo came first.
Halo actually came first.
Were we watching them simultaneously?
What do you mean?
Were they happening at the same time?
No.
Because I was just thinking that at one point John has the young girl.
Quan, yes.
Quan that he's guiding through the universe or has rescued.
She's not part of the games.
She's not part of the games, but I was thinking, oh, it reminds me of Last of Us. And then this season ends very much like Last of Us. And I was like, oh my god, it's the same game.
Oh, what, season 2?
Season 2.
Yeah.
But anyway, I liked that he was you could tell that he was a compassionate person, even though he goes around killing all these aliens and all the bad guys and all that kind of stuff.
He's protecting humanity.
He's protecting humanity. All right, so the helmet thing. For me, as a non-player, as a non-video game player, I love that he took off his helmet, because I just feel it's I love the Mandalorian.
Yep.
I do.
Yeah.
But I do find it hard to connect with the human when they have the helmet on, right?
That is that's what makes the Mandalorian so because you don't need to see his emotion. His emotion is within his voice and his movements.
All right, I get that, and I think it does work in Star Wars to an extent, mostly because we've known the Mandalorians for a really long time. Mm-hmm. But he's a soldier, and then there's so much stuff that happens in the show where you have to just be a human and not an armored soldier. There's so much that happens in the storyline that if Master Chief was in his armor the entire time, it would have been weird.
It would have been a little bit weird, and also it's a lot of CGI sort of motion.
Well, I'm sure, yes. I'm sure there was a money thing. But it was just, there's interactions that he has with other characters that I feel like it's important that he has his helmet off.
Yeah.
There's like just like this. There's like when they're in their locker room and stuff like that, right? Like all the different the games. Do you ever see the faces of any of the other Spartans?
All the time, yeah.
So it would have been
Master Chief is the only in the games is the only Spartan ever within the comics when he's a full-on Spartan. Mm-hmm. He is the only one who doesn't remove his helmet. The rest of his team absolutely take off their helmets. Chief is the only one who we don't see his face.
So on the reverse, I do feel like there's not enough Master Chief in his full armor in this show.
Absolutely, especially season 2.
Oh, especially season 2.
Yeah,
I do miss that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I think they could have balanced it a little bit more. I like that he takes off his helmet. As a non-Halo fan, a non-Halo player, I like just knowing John as a person and not necessarily. Now, would it have been a different story? Would I have still liked it if he was like this faceless soldier? Maybe.
Yeah.
There's so many characters in the Halo show. Like I really enjoy it. And there's twists and turns. It's so mysterious. And I asked you about who's the girl who was with the Covenant? What's her name? I'm horrible with names, by the way. McKee. So you said that she's not in the.
No, she is not.
So she's part of the TV show. But I think that's a cool element, right? Yeah. Like that they have a human.
I will say so. There's a faction within the games that consists of former Covenant forces, but were banished, and that's their name. They call it the Banished, and they do have some human. They do have some humans within their ranks.
Oh, okay. So maybe.
But they're not actual Covenant. They're not part of the Covenant.
But do you think the person the Covenant
McKee?
Yeah, but the one she's traveling with, what's his name?
Arbiter.
Could he be part of that? Is that a similar fragment?
Well, the Arbiter was a dishonored elite who would be dishonored.
Well, isn't it so he's a banished, or is he not?
No,
banished?
He's marked as a heretic, and let's just say the heretics don't live long, but said heretics can actually redeem themselves within the eyes of the Covenant by
that's part of the game too.
Yeah, by becoming the Arbiter and going on missions that basically would have their demise would be within that. I know this.
So the thing about the Covenant is it's all about honor, right?
It's a lot of honor,
especially
the elites.
Yeah, I just like all the mystery. What about in the game? Is all the artifacts? Is that part of the game? All the artifacts
there
that they
are
have in
artifacts there, but
is Master Chief connected to them in the same way in the show?
Because humans are descendants of the Forerunners, which are the beings that created the Halo rings. So technically, yes.
Spoilers.
Because let me stop saying spoilers. Anyway, because Chief and basically any other human can activate the Halo rings, whereas the Covenant, since they're an intergalactic species not made by the Forerunners, they cannot interact with the Halo rings or activate them, so they need humans to activate it for them.
So Walker knows a lot about Halo. I'll ask these questions while we're watching the show, and he'll give me the insight based off of the game, but we don't necessarily know if the TV show is going to follow the same course or even the same
It's followed a few courses, but overall it's a completely original story, which I'm fine with. And so back to Master Chief's helmet. My opinion,
back to Master Chief's helmet.
Well, so actually it doesn't bother me as much as some other people. For some very extreme Halo fans, it bothers them.
Bothers me that you're.
It bothers them. It bothers them to the absolute core. But to me, I'm just
well, so for me, if had you never told me, it would have never I don't think it's pivotal to the story as the TV show.
Yeah.
It could have been a different storyline had that been the case, kind of like The Mandalorian, where you don't take off your helmet and that sort of thing, or everybody be like, maybe they thought it would be too much of a distraction because they'd be like, why doesn't he take off his helmet? Especially
to people who hadn't played the games before.
Yeah, in The Mandalorian, you don't that's the code, right?
It's
you
the
don't,
code.
but that's not necessarily the code for Master Chief. It's just something he just doesn't do.
Yeah, it's just something that he chooses not to do.
Yeah. So I just think that maybe it's a game plot. Like they had started it and then they've just kept on doing it.
Because Master Chief's been around for over 20 years now, and it's just become so iconic, and they're just like, why change something that's so iconic and sort of ruin it in the games?
And so, all right, so other characters in the TV show, Halsey and her husband and her daughter, are they all in the game too?
They're all game characters.
They're all game characters? Or what
happens to them is very different.
Okay. And then what they do is the same, right? Like Halsey is the one who made the Spartans.
She's all about research. Miranda is also... We don't really see her scientific side. We more see her military commander side in the games. Keyes, same thing. I don't think Keyes was ever a scientific person. He's always been a leader, and a great one at that. Always looking out for the people under his command.
What about the woman? Is she the president? Or was she just the leader of the military?
Parangoski?
Yeah.
She's from, I think, the books and comics, so she is a game character who's been brought into... I don't know much about her personally, because I haven't delved deep into those sort of things, but she is a game character as well.
Okay. And then what about some of the other Spartans?
Silver Team, so in Halo Wars, which is basically an RPG version of that takes place like 20 years before the first Halo game takes place, you can just deploy more Spartans, and their names are Kai, Vanek, and Riz.
Oh, okay.
So it could be just like a simple nod or an Easter egg, but I feel like maybe they possibly could have done it on purpose.
What was the female Spartan that you wanted? Linda. So Fred and Linda.
John, Fred, Linda, Kelly.
John, Fred, Linda, and Kelly.
And Samuel, if you want to add him too.
They sound very fierce. Maybe that's why they decided to go with Kai, Riz, and what is it? Vanek. And then what about the guy who has the son who left?
Oh,
what's his
Colonel Ackerson. Colonel Ackerson.
Okay, the one who got married and has the kid.
Oh no, Soren.
Soren.
He's also from like the game universe, but except for him being a pirate, he was confined to a wheelchair, and he was part of Oni.
Okay.
Like the big, like you can see like in season 2 how much hate Chief has for Oni, because they're like CIA, FBI sort of. Yeah. So yeah.
So what was his name again? Soren. So Soren has a son.
He does not have a son, nor a wife. No,
but in the show, he has a son.
Yep.
And then the son has a make-pretend Spartan.
Yeah, like a makeshift Master Chief helmet.
And so it wasn't until the end of the second season that I said, "Oh my god, I know exactly what that reminds me of." It was Caden's costume that I made, and I was like, "I can't believe that it didn't even make it didn't dawn on me." But I was like, "This reminds me of something." Yes, it reminds you of the Spartan armor, but it's like, no, it reminds me of the armor I made for Caden, because it was exactly the same. So it was a nice. I was like, "Oh, look at that! I did the same thing that they did." Maybe somebody saw my Spartan armor and decided they were going to make it for a kid,
maybe.
Character.
So back to the characters. Yes, Colonel Ackerson is also a character from, I should say, the novels.
Mm-hmm. So Halo, the name Halo. So when I remember watching you guys play the game, and I thought, so Master Chief's helm visor always glowed, right?
Sort of a glow.
Right. It always, at least in the video games, that's the way it looked to me. Like it was always glowing. And I always thought that Halo referenced that they were the Halo.
Oh no.
I know. So I was just like, I thought their program was Halo or something, and I was like, but it wasn't until, I don't know, it was probably many, 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 many years later that I realized, Halo was a place.
It's the Halo. It's the ring.
It's the ring, and then I totally forgot about it, and then until watching
season 2,
and I was like, well, didn't Don't we see it or
Yes.
at the end of season 1?
Well, yeah, in season 1 it's teased a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Like, they call it the Halo ring too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So it wasn't until like that, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Halo is a place.
Yeah, it's the super weapon.
Super weapon.
Did you not know that?
No, I think you were telling me something about. I don't know if we want to get into this deep.
Are you
but
sure
you
you
were
don't want to
like,
get into this deep?
You were saying that humans in the Covenant were created by
only humans.
Only humans were created by another species
called the Forerunners, who were wiped out millions of years ago
and
due to activating their own super weapons to stop another species from destroying the galaxy.
And is it that other species that might be coming back, and that's why?
It was the same species that started to well, what's a good word without YouTube getting mad at us? I don't know a good word. Yeah, that's like I told you when season 2 ended. That species is so much
worse than the Covenant. That's what you were saying.
So much worse than the Covenant. It's the only thing that the Covenant fear. They don't fear the humans. They fear the other species.
Because I think that was another thing that when I would watch the game with you, I thought there was a couple of times where it felt like the humans and the Covenant were working together against something else. Does that happen in the game, or am I just misremembering?
Wait, say that question again.
That there were Covenant members, beings, were partnering or teaming up with humans at some point in the game. Does that happen?
Yes, to both stop I'm just going to say it, the flood. Yeah. To stop the flood.
Oh, that's right.
To stop the flood.
Don't like the flood.
Anyway.
Don't.
Yes. Those Covenant forces, which included basically all elites, including the Arbiter at the time, to stop, number 1, the flood. Number 2, the prophets that you saw in season 1, who were not present for season 2, the prophet of truth, from activating the Halo ring and destroying everyone and everything in the Milky Way system.
All right, sounds pretty serious.
It was very serious.
Do we know if season 3 has been greenlit?
I don't think so, but I would assume that there would be a season 3.
I hope so, because they kind of.
It was kind of left off of a
cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Like I hope. So if you haven't watched it, I recommend you do watch it so that it encourages. What's it on Paramount? Paramount Plus to keep making more seasons, because I want to find out what happens. Now, is it in line with the game?
No,
absolutely. Is it in line with maybe some books or books from comic books?
Maybe a little bit.
Maybe, but I think it's a good story, and I think it's worth continuing to tell.
Yeah. And
I would like to find out what happens.
Yeah, but you didn't ask me the most important question.
What was it?
What is my favorite Halo game?
Oh, this is a good Walker. Which one out of all these Halo games is your favorite?
Halo Reach.
Halo Reach. Reach is where. Oh, so that's the Fall of Reach.
The Fall of Reach. Yeah.
That happens in spoiler alert. Season 2, Fall of Reach.
With the first
So tell me, Reach. So that's the name of a is that a planet, or is it
because planets don't have names until someone names them, and so I think the UNSC just named it Reach.
So here's a question for you. Are there still people on Earth?
Yes, absolutely. The reason that they started to explore the rest of the galaxy is because there was not enough population control. There were too many humans on Earth, and people had to start to spread out because there were just
we had to reach for her new home.
Yeah,
that's why they called it Reach.
Possibly.
I don't know. I guess that's the one thing that kind of throws me. And then other names of certain things like Reach, and then like
Reach,
Halo,
Onyx.
I mean, Onyx sounds like a place, right? Reach is something oh, I reach for something. So why would that be the name of a place? And then Halo is not like, when I think of a halo, I think of something of, a halo around your head, a halo around a light. I wouldn't think of Halo as a place, but it makes sense once you see it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Who's your favorite character beyond Master Chief in the game?
In Halo Reach? In Halo Reach, you mean?
Sure. Halo Reach.
Any. See, that's difficult because love all of that's Noble Team right
Mhm.
there, which are the main protagonists of Halo Reach. It's hard, but it's probably Emil right here.
Oh yes, Emil. I remember you always. That was another
Me and
little.
Caden love
Emil. Yep.
He's.
You guys were never into the action figures, really. You always, because there were a few.
There were action figures and yeah.
But you guys just wanted the Mega Bloks.
It was a Mega Bloks for us. We didn't really fall for the action figures because I think action figures at that point, especially like during when Halo 3 came out, which was 2007, there were action figures, but me and Kane were obsessed with Star Wars action figures instead of Halo action figures.
Exactly. Like there wasn't many action figures you guys were into beyond Star Wars.
Yeah.
So we haven't talked about Cortana.
Yeah.
So Cortana, how can we have a Halo conversation and not talk about Cortana?
Yeah.
Like really? All right. In the TV show.
Yep.
Halsey invents Cortana.
She's a younger version of herself.
A younger version of herself, and she's an AI.
Yep.
And a supercomputer.
Yep.
And the plan is to put her into Master Chief so that he can basically just jack into this computer that can basically help him do everything and anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Except in the games, she's a physical chip that goes into the back of his helmet and not physically into like his nervous system.
So she's in his
in his armor. Yep.
So she is not in his head like in the video in the movie.
No.
And that was the thing that stood out to me probably when I would watch you guys playing video games is that he was always talking to Cortana.
Always.
Right, like he'd be like, "Tell me."
Though he doesn't talk much, but yes, most of the time when he does speak, it's mostly
to Cortana.
To Cortana.
Yes.
Yes.
Like, show me such and such, or where can I find the blah blah blah, or what are the odds of da 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 da, right? Yep. So he, but I always, in the game, is he romantically involved with Cortana?
I mean, so they started to work together before the Covenant found because when in the games only like a certain amount of Reach knew about the Covenant invasion, but like the rest of the planet was kept in the dark basically to not start panic. So they started to work with each other like right before Chief was given his new armor as well as being sent into battle. So they've been together for counting as Halo 4, maybe like 5 years.
Was he reluctant in the game? Because like in the
I believe so.
In the TV show, he didn't want to have anything to do with it.
It's not explained in the games because it's kind of like a.
It just is. Like, is he already?
They were when they first interact with each other, they already know each other.
Okay.
And
so there's nothing in the games where he discovers Cortana like it is in the TV show.
No.
Right? Okay.
Except maybe in a flashback in Halo Infinite, which is the newest game.
What's your feeling about the Cortana in the TV show?
I like her. She's voiced by Jen Taylor, who also plays Cortana in the games.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I guess, yes, because I would hear Cortana speak in the games. And so, yeah, she does. It didn't sound different to me. You said between season 1 and season 2, they changed the way she looked?
Absolutely changed her. It made her to look like the actress who plays Dr. Halsey, but then they went to for season 2, after Halo Infinite came out, there was another AI that was also based off of Halsey, which was basically a younger version of Cortana called the Weapon. Okay. And it seems that they've taken inspiration from the Weapon and given that to basically Cortana for season 2.
Okay.
As well as a lot of the weapons in season 2 are based off of Halo Infinite's weapons.
In the video game, is Halsey as jerky as she is in the TV show? Is she a bad guy in the?
She's snobbish.
She's snobbish, but is she a bad guy in the games? Because in the TV show, she's made out to be a bad guy.
There are some people who are definitely a lot of people like in the Halo games that they didn't like what she did because she kidnapped 75 children and made them into super soldiers while stealing them away from their families. So I can understand that.
Mhm.
Why a good amount of people dislike her. She also doesn't follow orders very well, so she's very, very stubborn.
So, and she's just out for her own mission.
She's out for her own mission, but she's out for humanity.
Oh.
That's why the Spartan 2s were created in the first place. Is
So technically, she has a good reason for doing what she's doing. She's elitist, and in fact, she feels like she's the only one who can do it.
She executed it poorly. But then when the future, like the Spartan 3s that we saw at the end of season 2, they were all adults and such, and they were like drafted in, like they had a choice in the matter, whereas Master Chief and the other Spartan 2s didn't have a choice. They were kidnapped. So yeah.
Good.
But back to Chief and Cortana being romantically involved. Technically, yes, the two do have they have
feelings for each other.
They have feelings for each other, especially Cortana. Even because Chief doesn't have, like, he has personality, but he doesn't have as much personality as her. But like he also loves her. She loves him, and he loves her.
Well, see, that's the other reason why I think that there has to be a season 3, because I feel like that's my understanding. As I would watch you play the video games and listen, it sounded like he cared for her.
He cares for her a lot.
All right, so that's like, from as a person who's just watching it from the sidelines, it felt like Master Chief cared for Cortana. In the TV show.
In season 1.
In season 1, he was like, he used her, but he was like, get out of me. I don't want go away.
But by the end of season 1, he basically like accepts her help, and she's the one who saves them all.
And then in season 2,
he felt lost without her.
Right, exactly. So I feel like season 3 is where like the bond would come into play.
The bond will definitely, if there is going to be season 3, which I would expect there would be.
Paramount Plus, make there be a season 3 of Halo. Let's start a petition.
They didn't see or talk to each other much in season 2 because she was mainly away from John, but also with the Covenant as well. But yeah, I definitely feel like their bond will definitely, if season 3 is greenlit, then they will most definitely, hopefully, grow that bond even more.
Do you have anything else you want to say about Halo? I think we covered it.
I think so.
Yeah, I thought you said it was gonna be a short conversation, but I think it was pretty long.
Yeah.
Yep. When we come back, we're gonna do our Star Wars conversation cards, as we always like to end each one of our podcasts.
Yep.
Okay. Ready? All right. We're back, and now we're going to do our wrap-up conversation with our Star Wars conversation cards. And is that upside down? Oh, it is upside down. There we go. Star Wars conversation cards. Walker, you've got. I picked last time, so you get to pick this time.
My turn.
All right. Let's do this.
Technology. Oh, wonderful.
I don't like the technology ones.
I'm not a big fan of the technology ones either.
Okay.
Oh well.
Okay. All right. What's the question?
Oh boy. If the Kaminoans offered to use you as a template for a new batch of top of the line clones, would you agree to it? Absolutely. Absolutely.
A universe full of Loris. Wouldn't you want it?
Doesn't sound so bad to me.
Look, I'm one of the best moms. Correct?
Yes.
They tell me, the boys tell me all the time, I'm one of the best moms. So wait, but I have to be a super soldier? Is that what it said? Say it again.
You have to be a top of the line clone.
A top of the line clone. I think I could be a top of the line clone of moms. Take care of the universe. I'm like the best dead mom. I could just imagine the activities everybody been doing.
So you wouldn't fight in a war, you just sit back and do whatever.
All right.
Kaminoans create armies to fight.
There's a picture of me when I was pregnant with Caden, I think. I don't think I had it with you. No, I might have been with you.
The Kaminoan cloning facility?
It's the Imperial cloning facility, and it had a big arrow that pointed to my butt. It was you? think it
You
was
have
you.
that picture?
Yes.
And you're the one who posted about when you posted about me in my
No,
armor.
I'm just yes. All right. Sorry.
That's okay.
It's been 20 years. My brain's kind of mushy. Anyway, I had a shirt that said Imperial Cloning Facility, and it pointed down to my belly. And so I was like, and then you had a shirt that said Product of Natural Cloning. So I have cloned. So, and I think I make fabulous clones. So yes, I sign up for it. And you say the same
but they're
thing?
talking about top of the line clones. I think they're talking about soldiers, not.
Wait, it doesn't necessarily say that. If the how do you say it?
Kaminoans?
If the Kaminoans offered to use you as the template for a new batch of top-of-the-line clones, would you agree to it? It says nowhere on this does it say you have to be a soldier. It just means top-of-the-line clones. Like. Clones being like the best of being. That would be like if you were to reproduce it, that there would be high-level clones. I think I would make a high-level clone. Yeah. The world would be filled with lores. Your dad would disagree.
I don't know if I want that either.
Your dad would 100% disagree.
Yeah. But yes, absolutely.
You would do it?
I'd do it as long as I'm with the Jango Fett clone troopers.
So you're saying you're thinking you're the top of the line clone troopers, not just clones. Just you want to be a trooper.
I want to be a trooper.
You want you want a squad, a garrison full.
I want to fight with the Jedi.
Walker troopers.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's our answers.
Yeah.
If you want to answer the question, if you think you would be up for it, having yourself cloned, leave a comment in the comment section or send us an email at myexperienceyourexperience@gmail.com.
Make sure to like, comment, favorite, and subscribe, and turn on those notification bells.
Yep. And don't forget to subscribe or follow us on our Instagram.
Yep.
My Experience, Your Experience.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
All right.
All right.